Oh, Om Sai Ishwaraya Vidmahe Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Om Sai Ishwaraya Vidmahe Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Om Sai Ishwaraya Vidmahe Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Om Sri Sai Ram, offering my most humble salutations at the divine lotus feet of our beloved Sai. As a part of the online satsang series, we have with us today Brother Sri Bala Ramachandran. Let's welcome. He's been with us before, and hence most of us already know him. He is an alumnus of Sri Satyasai Institute of Higher Learning and has been in the banking sector, holding a senior position for the last 20 years. He is part of the Sundaram Bhajan group and has been immensely blessed by Swami with a melodious voice. He is an inspiring orator who strives to instill devotion in the hearts of devotees through his mellifluous voice and singing and motivating thoughts. He has also rendered few beautiful bhajans on the Bridge Across Time series. He is here to share few thoughts on bhajan dynamics with us. Let's all welcome him and pray that Swami speaks through him. Sairam brother, thank you so much for joining us again.
Saram sir, thank you so much sir. So before I begin, I just want to reconfirm that you're able to see the slides, Swami's photo, that beautiful photo of Swami, the black and white photo, and
Yes.
yes, and I hope I'm also audible.
Yes.
I'm not sure whether you can see me.
If any technical query comes, people can put their share the chat station, this thing platform.
Sure.
They can share their views. Yeah.
So as I speak to you, I'm not sure whether I'm visible, but it doesn't matter even if I'm not.
That's okay. People also want to see you some point of time.
Yeah. No, I've tried to switch on the video. I remember you mentioning this. I've tried to switch on the video, but I'm not sure whether you can at this point of time see me.
Then brother, no issues. No
yeah,
issues.
but that doesn't. I guess that doesn't matter.
Yeah. Let's go ahead.
Yeah. तव सेवा की अवसर दीजो सत्य साई महादेव गानामृत में भाव विदीजो प्रेम साई भगवान प्रेम साई भगवान. Dear Swami, loving pranams at your lotus feet. Respected elders, dear brothers and sisters, Sairam to all of you. It's wonderful being back in our Samiti in Malleshwaram, which has been blessed by Bhagwan's physical presence, and I'm sure he's still present there, like he is, all over the cosmos. But it's wonderful that, just like Bhagwan, I'm also getting an opportunity to virtually be part of the Samiti, thanks to the technology, which I believe is, his own creation, because everything in the world is his creation. So wonderful to be back in the Samiti. Wonderful to be interacting with our brothers, sisters, elders who possibly I had an opportunity to meet the last time uh, I came along with my brother there for our Samiti anniversary. So it's really wonderful to be back again. Uh, Grateful to Ramanan sir for yet another opportunity. Before
We are
we,
grateful to you, Bala. We are grateful to you. We are very thank you very much from the heartfelt, gratitude to you.
no, no, so I'm the one who has to be grateful because I'm, thanks to this, you've been instrumental, and thanks to Swami's grace, I'm getting yet another opportunity to remind myself of a lot of things which I believe Swami wants us to learn. I say this because I know that Samiti members, a lot of them here who are possibly on this Zoom call, they are people who have been associated with Swami for long. I'm fairly sure there's not much which I'll be able to say which they do not already know, and hence I firmly believe that the primary purpose of the satsang today, or the primary beneficiary of the satsang, would be me. If anybody else takes up any benefit from it, it's completely, I think, Swami's grace and Swami's will, and I have nothing to do with that. Before we begin, before I begin speaking about bhajan dynamics, which is the topic assigned to me today, I quickly thought I'll spend a minute on the current seemingly unfortunate situation all over the world where all of us are locked down in our homes. And that's why I thought it's a great idea to also have a photograph of Swami sitting in his own room. Because if we are locked down, so is he. Not that you can really lock him down. How can you lock down the one who's all pervasive? But I thought it'll be a photo which resonates with what we believe our current status. Now, how we perceive a lockdown is depends on how we see it. Generally, I believe most of the world perceives this lockdown as a very painful thing. But just to share a different perspective, I thought I will remind all of us about what was possibly the first ever lockdown in the world. And dear brothers and sisters, I now put up on the screen a pictorial representation of what was possibly the first ever lockdown in all of creation. So just give me a second. Yes, here we go. So I hope you're seeing the picture of the lockdown.
Yes,
We are
yes.
still at the 21 days. So I believe if my understanding of Krishna's life is correct, for 21 days, whole of Vrindavan was locked down. And but actually, possibly, if you were to go back to people and ask those people in Vrindavan, and yes, I think it was a very difficult situation all around. As you can see, there were dark clouds. There were, threatening clouds all around. There was a possibility that entire Vrindavan would get deluged. But then, I think people are all happy because while they were in the lockdown, they were acutely aware, they were immensely aware of the presence of the Lord with them, the beautiful Lord Krishna with them. So I think, how a lockdown plays out in our mind depends on how we perceive it. I think one of the most wonderful things about the Sai organization is, I think we have utilized this lockdown period to do increased number of Sat Sangha. And Sat Sangha, like Bhagavan has always told us, is not good company. He says Sat is God. So Sat Sangha is the company of God, or God company, as Bhagavan would put it. So the moment a lockdown happens, or lockdown is equated with Satsanga, or is seen as an opportunity to engage in Sat Sangha, a lockdown becomes very, very delightful, like those devotees in, I think, Vrindavan experienced in those days. So grateful to Bhagwan, grateful to the Sai organization for creating this opportunity for us in a period which is generally perceived as very difficult. So now coming to the topic for the day, bhajan dynamics. When Ramanan sir was talking to me about this topic, considering the audience that we have, which I believe we have today, there are various ways of looking at this particular topic. I had an opportunity by Bhagwan's grace to speak about this topic as part of a National Bhajan Conference in Vrindavan. but there we primarily had lead singers, and the thrust and focus of the topic was slightly different. So as I understand, the thrust of the topic, or the way I possibly should be looking at this topic in the current context with the current audience that we have, possibly while the topic remains the same, maybe I felt I should look at it differently. Bhajan and dynamics. Now I'd like to focus on the word dynamics first and then come back to how bhajan relates to it. The moment you say dynamics, what comes to your mind? Something which is constantly moving, something which is constantly shifting, something which never stays in one place for any given moment of time, or not for much, doesn't stay in one place for a long time. That's what you say when you say something is dynamic. You're referring to something which is constantly changing, moving, shifting, and is not steady. Now, Bhagwan says one of the things which is always dynamic, which is constantly moving, which is constantly shifting, is actually one part of the body which he compares to the picture that you currently see on the screen. What you see on the screen is a dancer, and in Sanskrit, one of the words which is used to refer to a dancer is nartaki. Nartaki or dancer, because nartana is dance, so nartaki is the person who dances, the dancer. Now, Bhagwan says that if you look at the human body, the part of the human body which can be compared to a nartaki is the tongue, because the tongue always keeps moving, the tongue always keeps dancing, the tongue always keeps wagging. So Swami compares the tongue to a dancer or a nartaki. In fact, Bhagwan has also said that of all the parts of the body, if you look at the five senses, the nose, the eyes, the ears, the sense of touch, when you compare all of that, tongue is one specific part of the body which has got a power which, if not properly utilized, can be dangerous. And what's that power? Bhagwan says that the tongue is the only part of the body which has got the capability to convert truth into untruth. So that's the most dangerous part about the tongue if not properly utilized. Of course, there are many positive uses of the tongue. You can use the tongue to also chant the name of the divine. That's also there. But tongue is very powerful, and like any powerful weapon, if not properly used, it can become a weapon of mass destruction. So Swami compares the tongue to a nartaki or a dancer, and Bhagwan says that if we want to progress spiritually and if we want to have a peaceful life generally in the world, it's important to keep this nartaki or this dancer in control. Now, how do you keep this nartaki or dancer in control? Bhagwan says it very beautifully with his own wonderful play of words. And let me share with you now the play of words which Bhagwan employs. Bhagwan says, the question is, how do you control the nartaki? And Bhagwan says, control nartaki through kirtana. So beautiful. Swami just reverses the word. Control nartaki through kirtana. So he says the one brilliant way to control the nartaki or the tongue, to ensure that it doesn't get into activities which are undesirable, is to keep it busy with the kirtana of the Lord, singing the praise of the Lord. And that's what bhajan is. Bhajans are brilliant. Control nartaki through kirtana. You can use kirtana as a method, a very powerful method of controlling this nartaki or regulating this nartaki called the tongue. So when you I talked of nartaki because we talked of dynamics. And one of the things which is always dynamic, wagging, moving is the tongue. Now, on other occasions, Bhagwan has also talked of one more thing which constantly keeps moving, which is the human mind. And Bhagwan has often compared the human mind to what you see on the screen now, monkeys. In fact, Bhagwan says that the human mind is a mad monkey. In fact, Swami Vivekananda goes one step more to say that the human mind is a drunken, mad monkey bitten by a scorpion. Monkey itself is problematic. Now imagine the monkey gets drunk. and the drunken monkey is mad. And imagine a mad, drunken monkey is bitten by a scorpion. You can imagine how hyperactive it would be. You can imagine how dynamic it would be. So, how do you again control this monkey called the mind, or this, how do you keep the mind in check? Because that's also a nartaki. Swami says that again the answer is Kirtana. You can control this monkey also, this nartaki, through Kirtana. Now, speaking about controlling the monkey mind, there's a very beautiful episode which comes to my mind, which I think I must share because this happened very close to where all of you are physically sitting and where I'm trying to currently now move to in my memories in my mind. This happened in Vrindavan. I think in those days, we didn't have the three Vrindavan, we had the old Vrindavan bungalow. And Bhagavan was out in the lawns around the Vrindavan bungalow, the mandir, and he was next to a tree. Now, suddenly, what happened is that Bhagavan kept looking at a particular tree for some time, and there was a doctor devotee who was there just behind him, and this doctor devotee was wondering what Bhagavan was looking at. After some time, the devotee realized that Swami was actually looking at a group of monkeys who were there on a tree. So, what does Swami do? Swami turns behind, looks at the doctor devotee, and asks him to go to the kitchen and fetch some peanuts, groundnuts, because monkeys are very fond of them. So the doctor comes back with some peanuts. Swami holds these peanuts in his hand, and what does he do? He just looks at the tree and then nods his head as though he is calling the monkeys. Now, the moment Swami summons the monkeys, the doctor sees some unbelievable sights. Now, what does the doctor see? Point number one, the moment Swami nods his head, the entire group of monkeys who are in the tree just come rushing down towards Swami. Two, all those monkeys who rush down from the tree, they form a queue in front of Swami. Imagine, you're talking about monkeys, and monkeys form a queue, a neat queue in front of Swami, one behind the other, in a very disciplined manner. Three, each monkey approaches Bhagwan one at a time to receive the peanut prasadam from Swami. And four, which is possibly the most amazing thing, Swami did not hand over the peanuts to the monkey. The monkey picked up, each monkey which came close to Swami, picked up the peanut from Swami's hand. And the most amazing things, dear brothers and sisters, is that each monkey picked up only one peanut. I remember during our student days, sometimes when prasadam used to be served, Swami would joke saying that, have some extra stock of prasadam because some of these boys pick up more than one, But here you're talking of monkeys, and each monkey picks up just one peanut. Look at this amazing thing. Now, each time I think about this episode, in my mind, I think, Bhagavan, you compare the mind to a monkey. You say it's a mad monkey, but if we have your grace, O Bhagavan, our mind can become as charming, as disciplined, as as calm as those monkeys in Vrindavan. And that's what Bhagavan's grace can do. And the way to access, or one of the ways to access this grace of Bhagavan, is his kirtana, or singing the praise of the Lord. So like Swami says, control nartaki through kirtana. So how do you control the dynamic tongue? How do you control the dynamic mind? Because the mind becoming calm, the mind stopping its dynamism is extremely important, because like Adi Shankara said, and Bhagavan would often also sing, in a bhajan. We would have all heard Bhagavan sing this bhajan. Satsangatve nisangatvam, nisangatve nirmohatvam, nirmohatve nischalatatvam, nischalatatve jivan mukti. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Satsangatve Nisangatvam. When we have God company, Satsanga, what happens? Nisangatvam. We automatically become detached. Nisangatve Nirmohatvam. The moment we become detached, what happened is that we overcome delusion or Maya. Nirmohatve Nischala Tattvam. When the moment you overcome delusion, what happens is the mind becomes extremely still. You know, like the still flame when we try and do Jyoti meditation in the morning. So it becomes still, and Nischala Tattve Jivan Mukti. Because the moment it stays in one single place, like in the Ashtanga Yoga, Patanjali also says you have dharana and you have dhyana, you have samadhi. When the mind is still, it is dharana, and dharana becomes dhyana, and dhyana leads us to the highest spiritual state which we can aspire for, which is samadhi, which is again savikalpa samadhi and nirvikalpa samadhi. So bhajans are not a simple tool. The seemingly simple tool called bhajan, called sankirtana, is so powerful because it's satsanga, and eventually it can lead us to jivan mukti. So this dynamism, how do you control this? You control this through bhajans. So today I thought we should look at this topic, bhajan dynamics, from that point of view. From that perspective, I think bhajans are a beautiful tool which is gifted to us by Bhagwan. Why do I say it's gifted to us by Bhagwan himself? Because the entire Sai mission actually began with Manasa Bhajare Guru Charanam Dustara Bhavasagar Taranam. This bhajan which Bhagwan sang and all of us know and we sing to this day in our samitis. So the visual that you see on the screen is that hallowed place, that rock on which the little Satya, Bhagwan, sat down and he proclaimed himself as the Vishwa Guru, where he sat here and he declared his mission by singing Manasa Bhajare. So it was gifted to us by Bhagwan himself because the entire Sai mission was announced through a bhajan. That's what Bhagwan chose to announce his mission. So that possibly is indicative of the importance of bhajans or sankirtana in the Satya Sai mission. So we said bhajans can be a very powerful tool to control the nartaki. So because we said bhajans are a very powerful tool, I thought it may be a great idea to try and compare bhajans to various tools which we come across in our day-to-day life. I think that would be an interesting comparison. So I've tried to compare bhajans to various tools which we commonly use in day-to-day life and see how we can use bhajans like we use those tools. So let me pick up some of these tools. Now what has come up on your screen now, a mobile phone, is a very, very common tool that we use. So much so that today it has become a part of a limb. One day we forget to carry a mobile somewhere. I think we go through a panic attack. In fact, nowadays they say that one psychiatric disorder is something called nomophobia or no mobile phobia. The fear that, oh my God, have I kept my mobile somewhere? Have I forgotten my mobile? So, mobiles, have become completely a part and parcel of our body. Now the question is, can bhajans be compared to this tool? And I think yes, because what do you use a mobile phone for? You use a mobile phone to have a conversation. And like mobile phones are used to have a conversation with somebody, bhajan is a very powerful tool to have a conversation. Now, whom do you use? What do you use this? With whom do you have a conversation? Using bhajans. Bhajans are a fantastic opportunity to have a conversation with Swami. And the most beautiful thing of the Sai, the most beautiful thing about the Sai organization bhajan system is that generally in many bhajan systems which I have witnessed, you have lead singers and people who follow. And generally the practice there is that the lead singer would sing lots of, all the lines, but the chorus would possibly follow only some of the lines. Okay, now that's how it is in some bhajan systems. But if you look at the Satya Sai bhajan system, what Bhagwan has ensured is that everybody gets to sing every single line. So whatever I'm going to share in the next few minutes is not applicable to just the lead singer. Of course, I believe the lead singers have a very important responsibility to fulfill, but it equally applies to people who are also following bhajans. All of us, when we sit together in the samiti to sing bhajans, this is an opportunity for all of us. It's an opportunity to have a conversation with Bhagwan. So let me try and illustrate this through an example. So, while we sing bhajans, while we follow bhajans, we can use that bhajan to have a conversation with Swami. So, as an example, let me pick up a bhajan which is possibly an all-time favorite with a lot of Sai devotees, and incidentally was composed by an alumni brother, brother Hariharan, who is currently based out of Bangalore only. Now, this bhajan is Anandamaya Bhagavan, He Premamaya Bhagavan. I'm sure you would have heard this bhajan. So let me, kind of uh, try and tell you how this bhajan can actually become an opportunity to have a conversation. Now, there are various moods in which you can sing this bhajan. Now, according to me, one way in which you can use this bhajan is to, or one mood in which you can sing this bhajan is to sing it in a very rebellious mood. Imagine, you're very upset with Swami and you believe that Swami is not listening to your prayers and you're basically upset with him. So you can start this bhajan in a very rebellious mood. For example, the first line you sing, Anandamaya Bhagavan, He Premamaya Bhagavan. Oh Swami, you are Anandamaya, you are completely full of bliss. You are so full of bliss. How are you ever going to understand my problems? In a very rebellious mood. Anandamaya Bhagavan, He Premamaya Bhagavan. Now, your idea of taking this very rebellious stance is to try and provoke Swami to look at you and then speak to you and ask you what is wrong. Basically, you're trying to get him to speak to you. But the plan doesn't work. Now, you think by being rebellious, Swami will notice you, but you're not, Swami is not noticing. So then you say, oh my God, what is this? I'm trying to provoke him, but he's not responding. So what do I do? Okay, so then you decide to call out to him. Hello, Swami, are you not able to listen to what I'm saying? Oh, Bhagavan. Hello, Bhagwan. It's almost like saying hello, Bhagwan. Oh, Bhagavan. Sai Bhagavan. Oh, Bhagavan. Sai Bhagavan. Anandamaya Bhagavan. He Premamaya Bhagavan. You actually try to shout out to him, but still Swami seems to be busy looking somewhere else, sitting on his chair. And then what happens? He says, oh my God, this is not working. I'm trying to get him to notice me, but he doesn't seem to be noticing. So then you decide to raise his voice and call out to him. And you say, He Karunanidhe Prabhu Sai Ram Kripanidhe Dinom ke pran. You say, oh Swami, you're supposed to be Karunanidhi. You're supposed to be, the treasure house of compassion. Okay. And not just that, you're supposed to be Kripanidhi. You're supposed to be again the ocean of compassion, the storehouse of compassion. Okay. And you're supposed to be Dinom ke pran. You're supposed to be the very life breath of people who are in trouble. It's as though, I'm trying to remind Swami about his own job description and say, hello, Swami, you're supposed to be all this. Why are you not listening to me? I'm in trouble. I'm trying to call you and you're not even listening to me. But I'm still in a very, very a mood to fight with him, a mood to rebel. Okay. Kripanidhe dinom ke pran. But that also doesn't seem to be working. And then you says, oh my God, rebellion is not working. Trying to raise my voice is not working. Trying to remind him about, his own job description is not working. So then what happens? Then I say, okay, I think I'll have to come a couple of steps down and, kind of start pleading with him. ले लो प्रभु मुझे शरण लगा दो ले लो प्रभु मुझे शरण लगा दो. Even then, Swami doesn't seem to be responding. And then what do you do in your mind? And imagine this happening in your samiti. You slowly tip down, you slowly, push your way forward, right next to his chair where he's seated, right next to his footrest. And by now you're right in front of Swami, and Swami is looking elsewhere, just looking up at the, at some other direction, not even looking at your face. He is actually listening to you, but he's pretending to not see you, he's ignoring you. So what do? You've tried rebellion, you've tried, raising your voice, you have actually tried reminding him about his job description, you've tried pleading, nothing seems to be working with him. So what do? Now you use your Brahmastra. You used your most powerful weapon. So what do? Like a child who's trying to pacify the mother and trying to win the favor of the mother, you're right next to Swami's chair. You hold on to Swami's chin. And what would you do when you're, really trying to pacify your mother, placate your mother? You hold your mother's chin and say, Swami, please, ma, please, ma, please, ma, sorry, ma, please, please, talk to me, So that's exactly what you do in the last line. You hold Swami's chin and then you say, Mujhe daya karo Bhagwan. मुझे कृपा करो भगवान. So if you actually look at the entire thing using your own imagination, this is just an illustration. You could converse with Swami the way you want. And the most beautiful thing about Swami is that there is a unique version of Swami which is available to all of us inside our heart. The Swami outside may be common property, but the sweet Swami who's inside your heart is your personal property. You can talk to him, you can interact with him, you can, see him the way you wish to. You can associate with him the way you wish to. And bhajans serve as an opportunity to have this wonderful conversation with the Swami within. So this is one way in which I think we can use bhajans. You can have bhajans to have a conversation with Swami. What else can you do with bhajans? You also use bhajans like a microphone. Now, what do you use a microphone for? You use a microphone when you want to share something with the world. You want the whole world to hear what you're saying. You want to announce something to the world. You can actually use the microphone. So bhava is the main thing that we're discussing, and we're looking at various methods in which we can use bhajans to, or we can experience bhava while we sing bhajans. So like I said, one method of building the bhava aspect when we are either leading bhajans or following bhajans is to use it as an opportunity to have a conversation with Bhagwan. The another method that we can use is possibly to use this opportunity to announce to the entire world. So suppose while you're singing bhajans, you're in one of those moods where you want to announce to the entire world the glory of Swami. You can in that kind of a mood you can sing bhajans, and that can be one more way. You can use bhajans as a microphone. Okay, now just to give you an example of a bhajan is you may have heard of this bhajan, He Akhilandeshwari Ma Anath Rakshaki Ma. So I'll use that bhajan as an example to illustrate this. You know, suppose you're very it's like, imagine you're a child and you are actually singing the glories of your mother. You're actually praising your mother, and imagine little Ganesha singing about Mother Parvati, and while this bhajan is being, you're hearing this bhajan, you can actually imagine that you're Ganesha who is actually singing the glory of his mother. So what does this bhajan say? You're saying, Hey Akhilandeshwari Ma. You say, my mother is actually the goddess or the Lord of the entire Akhila, or the entire cosmos. अनाथ रक्षकी माँ. Not just that, she is actually the protector, the Natha she's actually the provider, the protector of everybody who does not have any other refuge in the world. Chamundeshwari. She's somebody who's actually even destroyed all evil in the form of asuras, like the asura Chamunda. Chamundeshwari, Karuna Sagari. Yet my mother is very kind, Karuna Sagari. Palayama Devi. And you say, let us pray to my mother who's actually like this. So imagine you're announcing this to the entire world. So when you listen to bhajans like that, you can actually imagine that you're announcing Swami's glory to the entire world. Now, the next few lines are very beautiful. In the next few lines, you're actually saying, He Tribhuvana Palini Ma, He Trishula Dharini Ma, He Tribhuvana Palini Ma, He Trishula Dharini Ma. You're saying that, my mother is actually, it's like a child saying, my mother is a big officer. She is responsible for such so many responsibilities. So here you're saying Tribhuvana Palinima. She is actually the Lord of the three worlds, and Trishula Dharinima. She's so powerful because Trishula represents power. So, He Tribhuvana Palinima. He Trishula Dharinima. But it's almost like you're saying, my mother is so big, she's so busy, she's so powerful, but at the end of the day, she's still my divine mother, my dear mother, and she's got time for me. Jayama, 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 Jagadishwari Saima. Partishwari Saima. So if you look at this bhajan, uh, sometimes one way of associating with bhajans is to use it like a microphone. You can actually imagine that during the bhajan sessions, you are sharing with the entire world the pride that is brimming within your heart, where you're seeing the glory. You want to announce to the entire world the glory of Swami, and you can actually use bhajans as an opportunity to do that. One more way in which you can uh, uh, infuse bhavam when you're leading or following bhajans is, sometimes what happens is that you are in a very happy mood, and but the bhajan which is being sung seems to be a bhajan which is sung in a very prayerful mood, in a very sad mood, where you're desperately praying. The lead singer is singing a bhajan where you're kind of desperately praying for something. So once a student did ask Swami, saying, Swami, when I sit for bhajans, okay, now I have to sing a bhajan which is very sad, or where you're conveying some sorrow or some pain that you have. But what if I don't feel that pain in my heart? How do I cultivate bhavam in such situations? How do I sing the bhajan with bhavam, or follow the bhajan with bhavam in such situations? And immediately Swami gave a solution. Swami said that what you can do is, even if you're not feeling sad, so let's say you're in a generally happy mood, there are no problems in your life, but what you can do is, you can use that bhajan as an opportunity to convey or to transport to the Lord's feet the pain that many people in the world, whom you know or may not know, may be experiencing at that point of time. So, for example, when we sit for bhajans in our samiti, there are hundreds of people who possibly are, not able to make it to the samiti. They have some problems at home, and what you can actually do is to imagine that on their behalf, you are offering those prayers at Swami's lotus feet. It's a very selfless prayer, Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu kind of prayer. So, just to give you an example, suppose this bhajan which you may have heard, Jai Jai Sai Ma, He Sai Saraswati Ma. Now, you see, it's a bhajan which is sung with a very prayerful attitude. Now, imagine this bhajan is being sung in the samiti and you're listening to it. You may not have any pain in your mind or any reason to put up a desperate plea to the Lord. But then at that point of time, maybe we can think of all those parents who are praying to ensure that their children must study well. You can think about the parents who are desperately hoping that their children will get admission in some college. You can think of all those students who are praying to the who are up against a very tough board exam, and they want to offer their prayers to the Swami. You can think of all of their situations. You can think of all the anxiety and pain that they may be feeling in the mind, and you can become like a pipe. Swami says you can become like a pipe through which you can transport their prayers to the lotus feet of the Lord. So you can say, Swami, when I follow this bhajan, when I lead this bhajan, may I actually become like a pipe which offers the collective prayers of so many devotees, or even people who you don't know you, so many people across the world. May this become a mechanism for offering this bhajan become a mechanism for offering this at your lotus feet. So with that, so imagine you can actually pray uh, while you sing this bhajan. Jai Jai Sai Ma, He Sai Saraswati Ma, Veena Vadini Ma, Vidyadaini Ma. So you can actually use bhajans as a pipe to transport or pray for the rest of the world. What else can you use bhajans for? You can also, while you sing bhajans, one more way to cultivate bhava is that you can, Swami has always said that he's a common thread through which which unites all of us. So like, you have a garland of jasmine flowers. Now these are all distinct flowers, but what holds it together is the underlying thread of love. So in our case, if we, each one of us are distinct jasmine flowers, the underlying thread that holds us together is the love of Bhagwan. It's Bhagwan himself. So sometimes when you sing bhajans, like for example, Shyama Gopal, Jai Jai Sai Ram, प्रेम बारो दिल में हमारे साई राम बड़े प्यारे साई राम प्रेम बारो दिल में हमारे साई ram. Any bhajan where you say Hamare Sai Ram, for example, you can actually say, Swami, we are all one. Like Swami says, the brotherhood of man and the fatherhood of God, or the brotherhood, sisterhood of human beings and the fatherhood of God. We can say, Swami, we are all one single family. We are, we are all brothers and sisters, and you are that common thread of love which binds us all together. So when you sing bhajans like this, you can actually think that the entire Samiti is one single family, one big happy family, where Swami is the Lord and Master and the elder devotee in the family. So that is one more way in which you can actually you can cultivate bhava when you sing bhajans. You can think of the underlying unity of all devotees and Swami as the master. Bhajans can be a way of fostering that love, common love amongst all of us. One more thing which you can do while you sing bhajans is, you can use bhajans as a projector to project whatever you wish to on, the screen that your mind is. And that is one more way of, singing bhajans with bhava. Example is, so there's a bhajan called Bhajare Rama Charan Satatam Bhajare Rama Charan. Now here what you can do is you can actually visualize or project a scene in your mind. So generally when I get an opportunity to sing this bhajan in Sundaram, in Swami's divine residence here in Chennai, let me share with you the example, what I generally try and do. So for those of you who've had the opportunity to visit Sundaram, those of you who have not been able to, also let me try and help you visualize this. So there's this beautiful bhajan hall, and bang opposite to Swami's chair, the other farther end of the hall, there's a door in the center. Besides that, there is also a door which is there on the gents side. There is also a door which is there on the Mahila side. So generally when this bhajan is being sung, in my mind, what I try and visualize is what I'd like to share. And for me personally, it's really helped sing this particular bhajan with some semblance of bhava. So what I generally do is when I sing this particular bhajan in my mind, I think that when the first line is sung, I imagine that the first line is sung by none other than Lord Hanuman himself, because it's a Rama bhajan. So when the first line is being sung, I imagine that Hanuman is actually singing this line and he enters through the center door, which is right opposite to Swami's chair in the farther end of the hall. So first line is sung by Hanuman. Just picture this in your mind. Just imagine this in your mind. Hanuman with the gada in his hand walking towards, Swami's chair in the hall while singing the following line. Bhajare Ramacharan Satatam Bhajare Ramacharan. And then who sings the next line? I visualize that the next line is actually sung by another great devotee of Lord Rama, who's Tyagaraja, and he enters singing this line from the gen side. Bhajare Janaki Jeevana Ramam. And who sings the next line? The next line is sung by one more devotee of Lord Rama, who is Bhadrachala Ramadas. He enters through the door which is there on the Mahila side, singing Bhajare Ramam Bhadrachala Ramam. And then all of them come together. They actually are in front of the dais. They actually in front of Swami's chair. And what do they do when they sing the next line? They actually go around the chair. They do a pradakshina. They actually clap their hands and dance and then sing around Swami's chair. Just imagine this, where you say Bhajare Pavana Tarakanamam. And then all of them kneel down in front of Swami's chair and they fold their hands and looking at Swami, they say, Bhajare Shri Rama Ramiti Ramam. And then they say, Oh Swami, you are none other than our Rama. Bhajare Sai Rama Ramiti Ramam. Bhajare Ramacharan Satatam. Bhajare Ramacharan. So visualizing a scene in your mind based on your preference is, one more way of possibly singing bhajans or following bhajans with a lot of bhavam. So let me end with one other, thought or idea which our brothers from the Prashanti Bhajan group, Prashanti Mantir Bhajan group shared. I know that Brother Amay Deshpande, long time before, has visited our Samiti and has spoken there. So when Brother Amay and Brother Ravi Kumar sir, when they actually came to Sundaram and they had a bhajan sadhana camp here, they shared a beautiful thought on how, one more method which can be used to sing bhajans with bhavam. And what they were actually saying is, they were saying that while you're singing bhajans, you can actually visualize, you can imagine that you are doing a pilgrimage mentally. Okay. So, for example, let me give you a quick, a few quick examples of this. So, imagine in the bhajan session, you start with the Ganesha bhajan. So, while this bhajan is being sung, Jai Ganaraya, Shri Ganaraya, Jai Ganaraya, Shri Ganaraya, Mangala Murti Moria, Siddhi Vinayaka Mangaladata, Siddhi Vinayaka Mangaladayaka Mangala Murti Moria, Ashtavinayaka Mangaladayaka Mangala Murti Moria. When you hear Ashtavinayaka Mangaladayaka, now mentally, you can visit those 8 holy shrines of Lord Ganesha, which are spread across the country. But sitting in your Samiti, in Malleshwaram Samiti, you can actually go mentally visit those places. So what happens mentally? You're completely occupied. You're with Swami. You're filled with bhavam when you think of those 8 temples. Similarly, when you, if somebody were to sing the bhajan, Aruna Ramana Shri Guru Deva Sesha Ramana Sadguru Deva, you can mentally visit, Arunachaleshwara, which is in Tiruvannamalai, which is again close to Tamil Nadu. And if somebody were to sing, Mathura Puri Nilaye Meenakshi Kamakoti Nilaye Kamakshi काशीपुराधीश्वरी विश्वेश्वरी Parti-puradishwari Saishwari. If you look at this in one single uh, bhajan, you've actually visited Madurai, you visited, the Madurai Meenakshi temple, the Kamakshi temple in Kanchipuram. You visited, the temple, the Vishweshwari, the Vishalakshi, Kashi Vishalakshi in Banaras, and you've also seen our Swami. So let me quickly run you through a few more bhajans, and as I sing these bhajans, and I'll just keep singing it like a medley, mentally, I would request you for a few minutes to go through a pilgrimage. Srinivasa Venkatesha Shritajana Paripala Saisha Tirumala Girivasa Govinda Garuda Vahana Govinda 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 Srinivasa Govinda 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 Shiridivasa Govinda 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 Pattivasa Govinda Shantakara Bhujagashayana Padmanabha Narayana Lakshmi Ramana Kamalanayana Sai Natha Narayana Guruvayurpura Sri Hari Krishna Narayana Gopal Mukunda Madhava Muralidhari Narayana Gopal Nataraja Nataraja Nardana Sundara Nataraja Shivaraja Shivaraja Shivakami Priya Shivaraja Chidambaresha Nataraja Vibhuti Sundara Nataraja Jaya Panduranga Prabhu Vittala Jagadodara Hari Vittala Panduranga Vittala Pandarinatha Vittala Jai Jai Vaishnavi Devi Ma Jai Jai Vaishnavi Devi Ma Jai Ma Jai Ma Jai Ma Sai Ma Shera Wali Ma Jota Wali Ma Pahada Wali Ma Janani Sai Ma Jai Ma Jai Ma Jai Ma Sai Ma Jaya Raghunandana Jaya Jaya Rama Jaya Jagajanani Janaki Rama Nava Nava Komala Megha Shyama Bhavaharana Bhadrachala Rama Shirdi Sai Parti Sai हमको दीजो प्रेमामृत धारा प्रेमामृत धारा तब सेवा की अवसर दीजो सत्य साई महादेव गानामृत में भाव भी दीजो प्रेम साई भगवान प्रेम साई भगवान தென்பழனி நாதனுக்கு ஹரஹரோஹரா ஏழுமயில் வீரனுக்கு ஹரஹரோஹரா சுவாமி மலை நாதனுக்கு ஹரஹரோஹரா திருச்செந்தூர் வேலனுக்கு ஹரஹரோஹரா शबरिगिरिवासा परमदयाला स्वामिये शरणं शरणं Ponnayappa. So brothers, what I was trying to illustrate is, if you actually look at a bhajan session, what Swami would do is to ask us to ensure that we have bhajans of the various forms of the Lord being sung. Now, one of the very powerful ways of sing bhajans with bhava and being completely connected to Swami when you sing bhajans is to do a mental pilgrimage. So each time, the lead singer sings the song of a particular deity, you can mentally worship those places. So that's one more way by which I think we can be totally connected to Bhagwan. So to quickly recap, we said that the Nartaki needs to be controlled through Kirtana. And if you have to be able to control the Nartaki through the Kirtana, Nartaki here refers to the tongue, Nartaki here refers to the mind. One powerful tool to do that is actually bhajans. But bhajans become a powerful tool to control the Nartaki if you bring in the element of bhavam. And how do you bring in the element of bhavam? There are various methods to do that. So to quickly recap, one is you can imagine you actually having a conversation with Bhagwan. Second is you can imagine that you are brimming, your heart is brimming with love and pride, and then you are announcing to the entire world the glory of Bhagwan. Another thing which you can do is to uh, actually think of use bhajans as an opportunity to think of the love of Swami which binds all of us together. When you especially sing, when you say Sangraho Haridam Hamare Sai Ram or Sai Hamara Ham Sai Ke. So when you do that, you can actually think that that's the common love which binds all of us together. Uh, you can you can actually use bhajans as a method of offering the collective prayers of all the people who you know and don't know, offering the pains, the sorrows of everybody whom you know in the world, you do not know in other countries at Swami's Lotus Feet, because we have the blessed opportunity of attending a bhajan session and being in the Samiti. We can imagine that we are offering all this at the Lotus Feet. We can also do, we can visualize a scene. You can use bhajans as a projector to project whatever scene you want in your mind, and thus, you can cultivate bhavam like the Bhajare Ramacharan bhajan example that I gave. And one more method is that you can actually mentally, you can go on a virtual pilgrimage while you listen to bhajans. So you may think, why are we thinking of various methods? The reason why we're thinking of various methods is because each one of us are of a different temperament. And each day we are in a different frame of mind. Each bhajan has a different flavor. And the mind, by design, needs variety. So a combination of these tools should possibly help my mind remain focused on the Lord and sing bhajans with bhavam and use bhajans as a powerful tool to control this nartaki called the mind and the tongue. And eventually this will lead us to the attainment of the highest goal of life. With this, Sairam, and thank you so much. My apologies for the inconvenience caused to all the brothers, sisters, elders here on account of the technical glitch that was there at my end. I'm sorry I kept you waiting. So I'm not sure whether this is what you were hoping to listen to when you heard of the topic bhajan dynamics. But like I said, I believe that the biggest beneficiary of this opportunity is me. But I hope that in some way, those who are on this Zoom call have also benefited from this satsang. If there's anything which I have said erroneously, anything which may not have been as per what your belief system is, kindly pardon me. And whatever I've said, I offer at Swami's Lotus Feet. Jai Sai Ram.
Brother, can you sing the closing bhajan Giridhara Govinda Gopala for us?
Sure, brother. I'll attempt to sing that. That's not a bhajan which in fact, I wish I had my brother from the Sundaram Bhajan group, Mayur Dave here. And Mayur has visited, I think, a Samiti there. He sings this bhajan beautifully. I have wonderful memories of, listening to, and I have had the great opportunity of following this bhajan while he sings it so beautifully in Sundaram. So I'll try and attempt singing this bhajan. गिरिधर गोविंद गोपाल घनश्याम नंद लाला मनमोहना मधुसूदना हे माधवा दामोदरा जनार्दना मुरलीधरा मनमोहना नमो साई नारायणाय नमो सत्यनारायणाय नमो साई नारायणाय नमो सत्यनारायणाय गिरिधर गोविंद गोपाल घनश्याम नंदलाला मनमोहना मधुसूदना हे माधवा गिरिधर गोविंद गोपाल घनश्याम नंदलाला दामोदरा जनार्दना मुरलीधरा मनमोहना नमो साई नारायणाय नमो सत्यनारायणाय नमो साई नारायणाय नमो सत्यनारायणाय गिरिधर गोविंद गोपाल घनश्याम नंदलाला